Good afternoon all. Well, today I spent a lot of the morning running around trying to get stuff for the kitchen side of the bus build. This is the sink we have got. We're trying to keep as much bench space as possible, so we've gone for a thin sink, and as you can see it takes up most of the bench space. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some of this part here off so it can come forward a bit and give us a bit more room out the back for the tap and also the filtration system tap as well. So I'm going to get the router and route it in so it sits flush as well on this. I've also got timber here which is going to go across here to brace it here, and also at the back as well to brace it there. So once it's flush with the cabinets here, then when I put the bench over, it's going to sit nice and neatly on top. And the part that I cut out from the bench, we're going to use to put back over here to give us that as extra counter space, but also as a chopping board. So that's going to be a little tricky, making sure I cut it all. Alright, I've decided to come out, cut this back 30mm. So that gives us an extra 30mm from the back of the sink, which should give us enough space to put the kitchen tap and the water filtration tap. So I've marked here, this one here is the one I'm cutting back to. I'm going to cut down the join here and cut here and then put it back in, make sure it's right, because this is where it should end up, the top part of it. And if all goes well, then I can put the frame around it, and then I'm going to start routering out what I need to along the edges here. Alright guys, this is why you've got to think ahead when you're doing stuff, because if you don't, you're going to end up with problems. So I've cut, and it's not a big problem, but it is a problem. It's not what I wanted to do. I've cut in to bring the sink back this way a bit, put the sink in and realised I can come back a little bit more. I haven't cut it yet, I was just about to. I've stuck it in, and then looked down here and thought, okay, I've just remembered the door hinge has got to go on there. So I went and got the door hinge, put the sink in, and look where the door hinge hits. So I can't come back how much I've cut up the top here because of the door hinge. Now I can move it across and back, but I've got to leave enough so I can get a screw in. Sorry, you put the sink back down so I don't bugger it up anymore. I've got to be able to get a screwdriver in there to adjust these, so it means we're losing a bit of counter space this way, which is, in the scheme of things, it's probably going to be 50mm, maybe 100. In the scheme of things, it's not going to be a big deal because the cutting board's going to be on top, so we're still going to have all that bench space anyway. But it's just frustrating. These are the things you got to make sure you think of before you do things. So I was lucky I thought about it before I cut any more off here, because I'm now going to have to bring it across this way a bit, and I'm also going to put a bracket here just to support this a bit more, seeing that I've taken cut one of the screws out. But yes, live and learn. Alright, just a little update. Bit more of a trouble. I got a short screwdriver and put it in there, and I measured from the wall to the end of the screwdriver with just a little bit so I could get it in and out. And then I put the sink in and that was fine, but then it hit the pump at the back. Oh, well, just this part. I could shorten this a little bit, but it makes it easier if there's a bit of length if you ever need to get back in there. So I'm going to leave that. And I knew that they made a angled screwdriver, and luckily I had one. So that saves me a bit more of a distance, so I can bring the sink out to about here, which then should alleviate the problem I'm having with it hitting the pump out the back. So now I've got to measure and see how we go. I'll cut this part and hopefully we have got it sorted. But you know what I love? When you measure up and you think it got it all right, and you've measured it all right, and you've put the lines where they're supposed to, and yet it still don't fit. Ah, you gotta love it. I'm gonna have to move this back on just a little bit back. Just a pain in the butt, really. Anyway, that's the way it goes. So I'm working out how to get our tap in. I've got to be mindful of this black washer. I've got to make sure that I've got enough room between the electricity and that washer to get on. Okay, I had to take out some slots in either side of where the bowl's going. The reason why is if you have a look, it's got little slots on either side. So if I ever have to replace a sink, I want to make sure I can get it in and out easy enough. So that's why I've done it before I secured it all coming down from the tap so I can work on it. I don't want it to be hitting this, so I've had to notch out this. Now, this looks a bit weird, but you've got to remember that when the countertop goes on, I'm going to glue all this so it'll be attached to the underside of the counter, and I'll probably put some screws in here just to give it a bit more bite onto that. I'm also going to have adhesive along all the tops of this, and also I'm going to screw from the underside up into the bench as well. So this won't sag, and there won't be any weight, it'll be all on the bench. So looks a bit yuck, but you won't see any of it anyway. So Alright guys, I finished putting the sink in. The end part was, which I didn't unfortunately tape, but it was only me gluing it in. I've used Sikaflex to glue it in. I've put it around the edges and Sikaflexed it in and clamped it down while it dried, and it's flush against the cabinet. So basically the sink is all in. You can see it's missed all the plumbing now. There's plenty of room. I've checked for the tap, and as you saw, I've got plenty of room here for the doors as well. So all in all, pretty easy job really. It was a bit fiddly in some spots, and making sure that I had everything done correctly. As I said, sometimes you've got to think in advance so you don't have to do it later on. So anyway, it's all done now. We're working on the kitchen bench next, cutting out the opening and then sanding it all, staining it and then varnishing it, ready to put on, and it can go on as well. So once again guys, thanks for your support. We really do appreciate you taking your time out for watching our videos. Don't forget to hit the subscribe and the like button, and also any comments just put down below. It's good to see some more bus builds coming online. So as always guys, I hope your bus build's going really well. Have a great week, and we'll see you in the next video. Alright guys, see you later.